What's going on, bro? Sorry, I'm about the other guy chatted a little too much.
It's all good, man. It's all good. As long as have you had like a drink of water or anything, like a little break?
I'm completely dried out.
Get yourself a drink, man. It's all good. It's all
Let's not
good.
go. I have a stubby waiting for me after.
All right, nice, nice stubby, nice.
And
Well,
where are you to start with? Where are you? Where are you?
I'm in Adelaide.
You're in Adelaide. Okay.
Yeah.
South Australia.
Yeah, South Australia. You'll be here, I think, 2nd of February.
Of February. That's for sure.
Yep.
Final show.
I'm Ian. I'm from High Flyweight. Probably got that. Let's get into that actually, because obviously I'm aware of time. My understanding was that you don't live in Australia anymore, but you used to. Now, I heard, because I'm not from here either, and when I first moved to Australia, I lived in Tasmania. Was it Tasmania you lived?
I started in Tasmania and then ended up in Melbourne. Yeah, I ended up, I was in the southern, about like 1 hour south of Hobart.
Or south of Hobart? What, like, is that like, well, where were you?
That's
South?
that's it, it's the end of the earth.
Yeah. Well, I lived in Hobart for about 4 years, in Lauderdale at first, heading towards
Okay.
Port Arthur, no, South Arm actually.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not,
yeah, yeah.
it's a nice part of the world. Very nice.
Yeah, it's man, just to think back of making that change and then now looking at it, yeah. I mean, I'm very pleased that I had the connection and the almost 10 years I was there, and the music scene, Melbourne for as especially Melbourne, um, really liking Melbourne, but also had to realize and face that there wasn't really a place to break through into the music scene of whatever was established. It was very strange because the locals or the sort of the middle artists that never became big, but sort of just played around, almost didn't have another place to go. I mean, there weren't any really TV channels that supported the music and there, so it was tough, but the years I was there and the venues, I played Adelaide many times, Melbourne, Sydney, Canberra a couple of times. So I'm just happy to have the memories.
Yeah, nice. Did you actually talking of that? I mean, obviously, this whole tour is primarily around your time in White Lion. Did you find that the 10 years there with White Lion, it was easier to break them than it is in Australia because, well, there's more venues and you can travel easier in a van than you can here. Do you think that's one of the reasons why people can't break through?
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting you're saying that. I was just talking about somebody else about, how somebody can't understand why you're not playing Perth. And then you say, well, it's basically another country. Just, and most promoters will say the same, going all the way over to Perth, that's like a big expense unless you're really a guaranteed band that will sell out and draw a big crowd to cover the expenses. But there's no way, obviously, some Australian bands manage to make, but there's no way to make that kind of tour in Australia that you've been able to do in Europe and America, where you go pick up towns, within, a couple hundred miles and things like that, or even closer. I mean, Australia, it's a day between everything.
Yeah.
So, and that's just that way. Yeah, I guess so. I was reading a book when I was in Australia, written by Glenn Wheatley. And where he talked about, introducing FM to Australia so
Radio.
late in the radio history, and just discovering that kind of news was like, wow, wow, wow. So it's a very unique country, and one thing that I discovered was coming to Australia and Melbourne specifically, is that I got a whole different understanding of the background of AC/DC. The lyrics of Bon Scott made completely sense to me, where before they were just rock and roll lyrics, but now they suddenly made a lot of sense in a different way and a very, very unique way.
Yeah. Well, because you can relate now. You can visualize
No,
exactly what.
I could be, and also the approach of the band and the band's attitude, the look of the band. I mean, it was like I saw the tradesmen going to work every single day, in a ute in the Bluntstones and the high waisted jeans and a singlet, and I just said, well, that's Bon Scott right there. That's AC/DC. And I go, and suddenly it all came back. They're a working man's band.
Yeah.
So if nothing else, that discovery to me meant everything.
The so this tour is you doing the White Lion songs. Um and it's been, well, 1992 was the last time White Lion were a band. I suppose the question I'll put to you is why now?
When White Line was a band, there was no such thing as mobile phones.
Well, that's true as well. Or
No,
internet.
it's like it's just like they'd only done three Star Wars,
Yeah.
and there was only one Jaws. Let's just go back to how ridiculous long ago that is.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I mean, the thing was, why are they bringing some things back that, mm, sometimes because nothing better has come around, so let's bring back the old stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think that's definitely the case. I mean, you've seen an awful lot of uh, these great songs and great performers are making comebacks, and they're finding their place in the market scene or the music scene around the world because people are looking for new stuff. People are always trying to discover, and sometimes the new stuff's in the old. I mean, is that the sort of feeling that you get when you've been traveling around the world doing your both your solo stuff and this stuff?
Yeah, it's tough to erase people's memories, people's good memories,
Hmm.
and the memories that people have through music. And it's sometimes something that I stray away from, but when I'm basically faced with it and hear people express the joy of hearing a song, I can't run away from it, just knowing that the powerful memories that people have through rock and roll or other kinds of music is irreplaceable, enormous. When you can bring back that kind of memory 35 years later, when to an audience that are 35 years older, but still will kind of like just put a smile on the face and relive that memory or just closing the eyes and I says, man, that rock and roll was great. What am I going to say to that? It's just a fact of what it is. And new music can do that. New music can bring something else along. I can't come up with the term right now what it is. It's you going out and maybe you look more at the light or you look at the guy in front of you filming the show and you're watching the show through
Through
the
the phone.
person's iPhone. It's such a fucking joke. So, which is one of the great things about playing these songs now in some packed clubs. The intensity, the closeness with the audience, and that you're able to communicate them without screaming.
Yeah.
And so, I'll take this over any other things and stuff like that. And I have to look sometimes in the mirror and just say, man, you're fucking lucky. You're lucky. I know you wrote the songs, but you're lucky that those songs had the impact of audience that they're willing to come back almost 40 years later to see you sing these songs.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean that 10-year period, um, went from right from the beginning in New York to the end, and then the peak was probably the Pride album, and then a couple of years there. I mean, you guys were at the forefront with a whole bunch of the bands that, Aerosmith and your Guns N' Roses, like you were in that same conversation. Um, I've got to ask, like, just you were there. How extravagant was that time?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. And of course now you're looking back and at times I actually think that the train went so fast that you almost cannot retell the story. It happened so quickly that a lot of the decisions we made was, of course, not thought through because there were not time to think through. There was no time to go home and read the contract. So you said, what the fuck? I'm going to sign it right on the spot. And 40 years later, you kick yourself and says, why the fuck did I sign that? Because that's what you did when you were 25 years old. Because at 25 years old, you only knew so much. You knew the price of hairspray, you knew what kind of jeans you wanted to wear, and you knew that there was no such thing as saying no. We were just going to go for it, whatever it would take. So we obviously sacrificed certain things to be part of other things. And now we're in a different place.
So, in talking of the tour, when you get here, you got the shows around Australia. Um, the set list is, I mean, is that going to be predominantly the Pride album, or are you going to sprinkle in some deep cuts in there? Is it going to be
No,
some
no, no, no,
things
no.
from other
This is,
stuff?
yeah, no. This is the kind of set list that this kind of tour calls for.
Hmm.
Also because both the band wants to play certain songs that's musically challenged or challenging. And we all it again, it's sort of like the AC/DC set list. There's certain songs you have to play to be fair to the audience. And then there's a certain songs that the band feel we want to play. And it's a great mixture that also not just are the titles of the songs, but also different keys, different grooves, that it doesn't just all sound like one. It's not a greatest hits set, but the greatest hits are there.
Yeah.
It's a kick-ass set.
Nice, nice, nice. Mindful of time, so we'll ask one last question and then I'll let you go for your other
I
stuff.
appreciate that, mate.
It's a pleasure. But this is kind of a plug kind of question. Um, Give us a reason why we should go and see Mike Tramp's White Lion on this tour.
Well,
Sorry, man.
no, that's not just one reason. There are many reasons. Um, this might be, first of all, the only time we'll get to come to Australia. Not that we don't want to come back next year or in 2 years. It's just not always that possible that a trip like that do. I do think that the songs of White Lion performed well in a very mature and very strong musically version is worth seeing. This is a no frills show, but all rock and roll. This is a no poser show. It's classic rock and roll. You know what? In reality, it's not my best line, but it's almost, imagine AC/DC performing White Lion, where it's just the music.
Hmm.
I'm gonna throw some jokes in between the songs too.
Nice comedy set, brilliant. Well, thank you very much, Mike. I'll let you get back. I know you've got a busy day, and I will see you on the 2nd of February.
I'll see you in Adelaide, mate. Thank you very much for your support.
It's a pleasure. Safe travels.
You got it, brother.